A company best known for generating fantasy art just claimed it can revolutionize medicine with a scanner that costs almost nothing to run, produces no radiation, and sees inside your body in stunning detail. That company is Midjourney, and the medical world is watching very carefully, not with excitement, but with skepticism. To understand why this is either a breakthrough or a red flag, you first need to understand what ultrasound actually is, because most people think it's just for babies, and that massively undersells and also misrepresents the technology. Ultrasound works like a bat navigating a dark cave. You send out a pulse of sound, way too high-pitched for human ears, and then you listen for the echo. How long the echo takes to return tells you how far away something is. What the echo sounds like tells you what it bounced off of. The problem is that the human body is not a clean cave. It's more like a crowded subway station full of people wearing different fabrics. Some absorb sound, some bounce it, some scatter it in random directions. Fat, bone, fluid, muscle, they all behave completely differently when sound hits them. This is why traditional ultrasound images look so grainy and noisy. The technician has to press a handheld probe firmly against your skin, usually with gel, at very specific angles, and even then, getting a clean picture requires years of training to both capture and interpret. Midjourney's proposed solution is a concept called immersion ultrasound. Instead of pressing a probe against you, you sit or lie inside a tank of water. The water acts as a perfect acoustic bridge between the scanner and your body. Almost no signal is lost at the surface. Think of trying to talk to someone through a wall versus talking to them through water. Sound actually travels much more efficiently through liquid than air. The water bath essentially removes one of the biggest barriers that makes conventional ultrasound difficult. Around the tank, instead of one probe, you have an array of hundreds or thousands of tiny transducers, little sound emitters and receivers, firing from every angle simultaneously. This is the part that makes it genuinely interesting from an engineering perspective. With signals coming in from every direction at once, you can apply a technique called computed tomography, the same mathematical trick used in CT scanners, but with sound instead of X-rays. You layer all those angular snapshots together to reconstruct a full 3D image. And here's where AI enters the picture. Raw ultrasound data is messy. Reflections interfere with each other, signals arrive at slightly wrong times, tissues blur together. AI models trained on thousands of scans can learn to clean up that mess, filling in what's noise and sharpening what's real. It's like the difference between a photograph taken in a foggy room and the same photo after software strips the fog away. The underlying scene was always there and naked. The AI is learning the rules of fog well enough to reverse it. The behind-the-scenes video, filmed by a YouTuber who also happens to work at Midjourney as an engineer, shows what looks like a polished, serious piece of hardware. The tank, the transducer rings, the software interface, it genuinely looks like something built by people who know what they're doing. They also showed scans of an imaging phantom, a physical object designed specifically to test scanners under controlled conditions. Phantoms are used in medical imaging research to check whether a system can cleanly separate different structures. It's a real legitimate validation step. But here's the problem that the medical imaging community is raising loudly. A phantom is not a human body. A phantom doesn't have a liver sitting next to a gas-filled intestine. It doesn't have ribs blocking the path. It doesn't breathe. Performing well on a phantom and performing well on a real patient are completely different challenges. There are also no peer-reviewed clinical trials, no published data comparing Midjourney's scans to MRI or existing ultrasound on actual patients, no independent validation from radiologists or hospitals. The company plans to first deploy this in spas, not clinics, which sidesteps the regulatory burden of proving medical efficacy. This is a meaningful distinction. A product marketed as a wellness experience doesn't need to prove it catches cancer or accurately measures organ size. It just needs to look impressive and feel futuristic. That's a very low bar for something Midjourney says will transform medicine. The underlying physics of immersion ultrasound tomography are completely legitimate. Researchers have been working on this concept in academic settings for decades. The question isn't whether the idea is real, the question is whether Midjourney has actually solved the hard parts. Sound still struggles to penetrate bone. Gas in the digestive system still scatters signals unpredictably, and AI trained to reconstruct images can sometimes hallucinate, filling in structure with statistically plausible detail that isn't actually there. In medicine, a confident-looking false image isn't a minor bug. It's a potential misdiagnosis. What Midjourney has demonstrated is that they've built something, that they're serious about it, and that it works well enough in ideal conditions. What they haven't demonstrated is that it works in the messy, complex, high-stakes reality of actual human bodies with actual diseases. The most generous reading is that this is early-stage technology being shown transparently, and the SPA deployment is a way to gather real-world data while managing regulatory risk. The least generous reading is that it's a well-produced hardware demo from an image generation company asking you to trust their AI with your health. The truth is probably somewhere between those two readings, which is exactly why the next few years of data will matter enormously. The physics are real, the engineering looks serious, but in medicine, looking serious and being clinically validated are not the same thing, and confusing them can cost lives.